Elevation.
Cool and Dre.
Big blunts, dope boys wanna smoke with me. Now we ride double M's through the whole city. Niggas talking down, but they always feel me. A 9-figure nigga, all I wanna talk is business. I seen a big mouth get a closed casket. Self-made, took over the whole racket. A kilo after kilo, see who moved the most. 200 for
What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to Goofy Investing, where we talk about investing in the stock market. This is the underground, long and awaited. I'm back in the flesh. I took a break from YouTube, had some family matters to handle, but nevertheless, I'm back, okay? And little pivot and change of strategy. I'm going to be talking more about stuff I'm doing on YouTube. So let's recap, okay? Before we get into the stock that I'm very bullish on and I've been positioning on, let's recap and what's been going on with the portfolio. As you can see, here's my growth portfolio, excluding the Patreon hot pick, which is a 10x by 2027. I've been heavily positioning this year into S on my chest. There can only be one. And Airo Group Holdings, ticker AIRO. Doing pretty good with Sentinel-1. Growth has been phenomenal. Accounts at all-time highs, what have you. And everything has been doing really well. Now, Airo is the laggard here, and I believe that they're soon to be next on the actual run. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the key performance indicators, the operations of the company, and so forth. Currently, I have invested just a little over 30 grand into the company. I have over 4,000 shares. Cost base is $7.42. Okay. On the actual stock chart, and within the past 5 days, this thing has been running up as we got earnings right around the corner. This coming Thursday, August the 13th, this next Thursday coming up, pre-market, this company will report earnings. We're going to talk about projections on what I'm expecting with earnings. And, we're going to talk about more about the business and why I'm so bullish. All right. So, before we move forward, let's talk about what happened last earnings, okay? Earnings last time was a miss on top and bottom. With the actual nature of this being a government contractor, sales are going to be lumpy. So investors should be looking at this on an annualized basis, okay? And that's not only per guidance from the management team, but pretty much my experience with government contractors. This is something that I've dealt with as a Palantir investor because they were so deeper into government contracts before they had not so much exposure into the commercial diversification of sales, before launching in more of the commercial business. Okay, so this is not nothing that I'm not used to. Okay. And Airo is no exception, all right? These sales are very lumpy. There's a lot of regulations. And, the government is the best and worst customer. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is if it's in the actual guidelines of, policy, government's going to purchase. However, the stipulation of the purchase is they're gonna request the order, and Uncle Sam's gonna pay the company when the Uncle Sam deems fit. Okay, so and sometimes that does not translate well to Wall Street expectations and investor expectations and so forth as those sales and revenues are realized randomly. Okay, to Uncle Sam's convenience. All right, so going back to it. All right. What's going on with the company? Last earnings call, the management team pretty much guided that the company will be on UAS, the blue list approval for UAS in the first half of the year. And what do you know? Shortly after July 14th, Airo achieved US blue UAS list approval, okay, for their RQ-35 Hedron. Okay, this is a fixed wing reconnaissance drone. with higher range capability and anti-jamming capabilities, and battle tested in Ukraine. Okay, this is the flagship product of Airo. Not only is it the flagship product, I mean, there are other products that Airo has that are in Ukraine as well as other partnerships and so forth. So, not only does Airo have reconnaissance drones, they do have strike drones through their Bullet Interceptor drone line. And as you can see, look like a little bomber drone right here, maybe a suicide drone there, that type of idea. Um, some of the catalysts on why I'm so bullish on this company is one, the valuation, two, nobody has heard of the stock. Okay, I specialize in this. If you were part of my, if you're following my YouTube channel for years, I cover these underground gems such as Navitas and so forth. All right. So this is no different. Same idea, just a different flavor and a different company. Okay. We'll talk about price action projections, what I think the stock is worth. We'll talk about different modes of how I view the investment and so forth in a bit. Okay. But let's talk about the actual catalyst and the setup of the company in which I like the stock setup as well. All right. Not only is the company cheap, okay, we're trading cheap here. We'll go down to their valuation on a sniff check, 4.36 million in debt, 54.23 million in cash. Really good balance sheet. I really like it. Enterprise's value is standing at 218 million. If we go to the actual market cap, right now, the market cap is 267.92 mil. If I look at forward consensus estimates on this company, they're probably going to revenue their market cap by end of 2028 here in a couple years and a half. Okay, so that's phenomenal. That's a phenomenal setup that I like to look at, and by the end of 2028, they will be revenuing their enterprise value, okay, of 218 million. They'll surpass it. And not only am I getting the growth, I'm getting it at dirt cheap. Look at these forward sales multiples here, okay? Forward projected sales multiple of 1.62 next year. Are you kidding me? This is the setup I look for. I am a growth investor. No dividends here, okay? So if you're a dividend investor and you're just coming across my channel, I don't know what to tell you, all right? So there that is. Margins, okay? Really good gross profit margin. Saw a little contraction in margin last quarter. Management is guiding that we're pretty much bottomed at that Q1 with a little bit more of slight margin compression, just a tiny bit more heading into Q2. But the reading between the tea leaves, okay, we're set to have a strong Q2, and I project this company is going to have a strong Q2. Now let's read between the tea leaves here, okay? And I'm going to read this from management. Our internal estimates do not assume that upgrades will be dominant driver of drone revenue in the remaining quarters this year. Instead, we assume pure drone deliveries will be the leading driver of revenues in Q2 and in remaining quarters. So what does that mean? Q1, they had a lot of compressed margin due to drone upgrades, okay? And that shortens the margin of this actual particular business model in the business that I'm investing in currently. Q2, we're headed towards pure drone deliveries, okay? And that favorably impacts the margin, expands back the margin, and so forth, okay? So let's look at some other things, okay? So going back to it, as I reiterate, the management team was reaffirming their expectations to achieve Blue UAS certification in the second quarter. This is before the approval announcement that I showed you here, where they achieved that. So one of the things that I look at as a growth investor and as an investor in general is the management team holding firm to their word? Are they coming through? Are they coming through on what they're telling the market and investors? If they say they're going to achieve Blue UAS certification in the second quarter, I'm going to hold them to it. All right. But the management team came through. So these are things that I'm actually keeping track of. Okay. So there's that to consider. Now, internal assumptions from the management team, they're pretty much, and I'll read this out. We expect roughly 40 to 60 first half, second half split, and the third quarter sequentially lower versus the second quarter. Okay, so what does that mean? All right, I guess I got to translate that. That kind of sounds a little complicated. So essentially, what they're saying is Q2 is going to be strong. Q3 is going to be a little bit weaker than Q2, but with the 40-60 in the first half and the second half split, Q4 going to come in strongest and going to take the cake. That's how I translate this verbiage from the management team based on their internal assumptions. Okay, so they're going to expect low single-digit gross margin compression. All right, compared to fiscal year 2025. Slight little compression. I'm here for the growth, guys, and the future potential of this company. Okay. Nothing is perfect in investing, but you got a good setup is a good setup. All right. So there's that. Let's talk about the actual catalyst and the setup. Not only am I getting a stock that is dirt cheap on a valuation basis, and we'll do a quick we'll do a quick market multiple comparison on other drone companies, and I'll demonstrate why I believe this particular business model and stock is cheap. But the actual key performance indicators of investor catalyst coming up is perfect. This year, I'm investing and building the position, and next year is when the real good stuff starts happening. Okay, and that's how I invest. All right, I invest a year. I posture and I position a year ahead of time with the expectations coming in next year. All right, so their RQ-35 is their flagship. But next year, we got scheduled launches of 3 different drones. All right. RQ-70 is pretty much the version 2.0 of the RQ-35. And the JC-250 and JX-250. This JC-250 is ready to launch early 2027, and the JX-250 later on, and more of the latter half of 2027. That drone is set to launch. This JC-250, all right, I can't get over this, guys. Check this out. This is the JC-250 that was pretty much put out on display at the Exponential 2026, and look at the size of that thing. All right, and you see the actual cargo hull right here, which is disattachable. All right, so this is an autonomous drone. Someone is not in there. Okay, it's all remote control, and it's this bigger than the size of a person, but a miniature aircraft, if you will. All right. I'll tell you what, I think that this product is exactly what the military is looking for. And I think that Airo and their actual product offering is way different and more sophisticated than what the other drones have to offer in the other companies. And let me explain. All right. Other companies, they have these little tiny drones, okay? And maybe the range capacity and the time of flight is, maybe they can do 30 minutes, and maybe they can only go out, 4 miles, 3 miles, whatever, okay? Not Airo's drones. Airo's drones, they got way more range. They could fly for 4 or 5 hours, whatever. And they just dwarf the capabilities of these other drones. And taking it to the next level, look at, these mid-size cargo drones is the future. And not only do I believe that these mid-sized cargo drones will be applicable to just cargo, I believe that these mid-sized cargo drones can easily be pivoted with striking capabilities. Imagine there's three of these, as you see here, there's three of these JC-250s carrying essential cargo to a military operations destination of need. And not only is there's three of them carrying cargo, there's four additional of these JC-250s outfitted with machine guns and missiles, guarding the three other drones that are carrying the precious cargo. Okay, that's how I see Airo and the offering that they have to offer, to the actual Department of War. Okay, and I think that the big wigs in the military are going to look at that and assess that this product is operationally feasible. Okay, and that's the value impact, the societal value impact translated through the government and military and so forth. Okay. So there's that. That is what we have to look forward to, the launch of these three different drone offerings next year. Let's move on, or before I move on to a market multiple comparison, check out my Patreon, where you get access to my coveted deep dive collection. This collection is exclusive content of deep research and development you will not find anywhere else on the internet. Not only do you get access to the deep dive collection, I got a investor development collection, I got a hidden gem collection, bunch of exclusive content, great community of growth investors, highly skilled. They are getting better. I'm constantly getting messages from my investors on this community saying that they're reaching their goals and their milestones, and they really love this platform. I have a very low churn rate, high satisfaction rate. All right, check it out. Link in description of the video. 15 bucks a month. There's a 7-day free trial. Check it out. If you don't like it, no harm, no foul. Cancel the subscription. If it's too much, pay annually. Save 20%. Okay. So there's that. So don't, be sure to check that out. Okay. Now let's go to the actual market multiple comparison. I've pulled up different drone companies, RCAT, UMAC, Katos. Okay. So first of all, let's outline ownership. Insider ownership, 12.78% on Airo, higher ownership than peers. Okay, so now I know that the management team got their own skin in the game. That's important in business, so that's what I like to see. Institutional ownership, less. Okay, a minor fraction less than the other drone companies. So opportunity for institutional ownership to more so come in. All right. Let's talk about profits. All right, gross profit margin. Higher gross profit margin than the other drone companies. So I like that setup right there. All right. Let's talk about the balance sheet. All right. Balance sheet. I'll admit all these drone companies got really good balance sheets, but our current and quick ratios are looking a little bit better. Okay. So I like to see that as well. All right. Not only am I looking at the actual float of ownership and so forth for the upcoming earnings, let's take a look at current short and percentages. All right. Short interest right now, the float is there's a 20.29% float happening right now on the stock, and there's off exchange volume of 79,000 shares in a dark pool that I'm tracking. All right. I believe, and I'm tracking that this dark pool short volume is coming out of probably a dark pool out of UK up in London through the bankers over there. Okay. So, and that dark pool interest to be paid based on so far interest rates over there in the UK, okay, by the London bankers, given that. All right. So there's that to consider. So we got potential, of a slight squeeze after posting a good earnings. And I got the setup is really good. Now, let's talk about price action and the setup and what I'm thinking here, all right? Originally, in the beginning of the year, and as I digress, we'll talk about the investment proposition. Originally, in the beginning of the year, I positioned right around here, right around here, end of 2025, beginning of 2026, on an actual V-shape lump sum play. That didn't come to fruition, and I should have known better. And I did. I figured it may not come to a straight V because they're so new to the market, and the market doesn't have to give them any credit. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's not a good investment. All right. So I've averaged in here and up to my position up to 30,000. So the actual look at the comparison of all my other positions of how much I put into the actual different stocks, and I'm looking at Airo's probably the second highest quantity of amount of capital I've deployed in the actual portfolio that you see here. All right. Of course, S on my chest, I deployed 76,000 or a little over 76,000, and my piece of that business is worth over 100 grand now. Now, Airo, what is in line for my shares? What can I expect here from this investment? All right. Well, if I look at a market multiple comparison, from the other companies, when I go to valuation, all right, on a price to sales multiple, here are the compared price to sales multiples of Airo versus the other companies, okay? RCAT is trading at a price to sales multiple of over 15 times. UMAC is trading at 31 times, and Kratos is trading at 7 times. You look at Airo at 2.66 times. Recipe for a 4 or 5x right off the bat, when I average out everything out, okay? Stock is trading undervalued. That's one reason why I got in. One of many reasons, and I tell you what, when it comes to deploying my capital, I don't play around. I check everything, all right? So I wouldn't be surprised if the stock goes up and probably doubles here in the 15, 16 range here in a couple of weeks. However, they are still new to the market with a slight compression on margins coming in at Q2, and this company not being GAAP profitable, and with them not having too much rapport with the street as they've only been public, June of 2025. The street and the market doesn't have to give them any credit, okay? But that's my opportunity right there, okay? So if it doesn't double in the next couple of weeks, I'm not going to get my feelings hurt. Would I invest more into this company if it starts trading below into that $6 range and so forth again? Yes, I'd be willing to invest another 20 grand, okay? So that's my take on it, all right? So I hope you guys got value out of this. Comment down below on your thoughts and so forth. I know I missed you guys. Y'all mean the world to me. Hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button if you're a growth investor and you just came across my channel. And with that being said, until the next time, I love y'all and take it easy.
You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
One thing to question your mind. It's another to question your eyes and ears.
Remember how you felt when you were alone? There's nothing. You were miserable. That's why we're here.
You're not gonna do it, are you? Change the world. You're afraid.